think typically any entrepreneur who has a passion and who conceives of a business idea, typically we see that business builds through certain phases. The first phase is conceptualizing a business. As Mr. Arunachalam was talking about, a problem actually inspired him to conceptualize a vision for his business. And he's actually living, perhaps even dreaming about that business day in and day out. So first stage is of course of conceptualization. Then there is this tough phase of survival, because it's very easy to conceptualize at times, but when it comes to actually implementing it, the sheer survival, particularly in the kind of conditions that we have, could be quite daunting. The third phase, as you survive, you start creating a following for yourself. People start accepting that there is something worthwhile that you are engaged in, because it's a bit of a struggle to even go to that phase. And why all this is possible? I think it all begins with passion that an entrepreneur has. Is the sheer grit of an entrepreneur that helps him or her to survive. And then the vision starts getting some following, like we already have experienced in the previous presentation. Then is the execution phase, where you want to actually go and stabilize at a certain level. And that's where you actually see that you are actually on an orbit. You are at a certain level, you have reached a certain amount of turnover, but then a consolidation is really needed. And that is the phase when you actually get into converting what was a smaller business or a medium-sized business to an organization. So what I have tried to do here is, I have tried to put before you what I would call as 5 very important V's of a business, which is what I just want to put in front of you. And if that is the kind of maturity we want to achieve in our business over a period, then I would also talk about what the components are and what are the kind of phases which typically an entrepreneur would go through to reach those 5 V's. First, obviously, is the vision, which arises out of the passion that you have in your own mind. The second is the value proposition that you want to deliver to your own customer. Third is the value delivery process itself. So I'll talk about each of these components a little more. The fourth V, I think, which is very important, is the value system. And the fifth is attention to people who create value, the value creators themselves. When we talk about the first V, which is the vision, I would talk about 4 aspects of the vision. One is the zone of its relevance. Is it relevant only for your own district, or is it relevant for the region or for the state, or is it relevant globally? The second part, which is becoming very, very important, is your business going to be kind to earth, or is it going to be hostile to earth? What I mean by earth is not just earth as earth, but also the surroundings, which are becoming very, very important today. And I think one of the examples that he gave why his business sustained is because the sheer transportation cost of mass manufacturing to reach out those products to a distant place, instead you get into a much smaller manufacturing activity which reduces your transportation costs substantially. Obviously creates a footprint on the earth as well. The third, how good is it for humanity? Is it something which is going to help the humanity down the line? Like again, his example we see clearly is something which is going to do very good for the humanity. And the fourth, does that vision have more blossoming opportunities? Can we have more offshoots to that vision down the line? So we begin with a certain vision, it's something which is not cast in stone, so as we progress, can it have more offshoots? And I'm sure his business, as I see, would definitely have more offshoots down the line. Value proposition would ensure the long-term sustenance of an organization. Then how do we deliver this value? We have identified that yes, this is the value proposition for the customer, but how are we going to deliver that value? That's where the methods, the processes, the technology, all that comes in. The structure that you create comes in. And then there are 4 aspects of value delivery which are very, very important. The 4 aspects that I think are, one is capacity management. Second is the working capital management. Third is cost management. And fourth is risk management. And all these are very, very important in the value delivery. Now here in the top, I have actually put those 5 phases that an entrepreneur goes through, right from conception to survival, to actually creating a following, then consolidating that business, and then finally transforming into an organization. And on the other hand, you have those 5 V's, which are vision, then you have the value proposition, then you have the value delivery, value system, and value creators. When we talk about value proposition, obviously initially as an entrepreneur, we do have clarity what is the kind of value that we want to add to what set of customers. But as we start actually going through the next phases, we start sharpening it. And then finally we institutionalize it, the whole value proposition part. The value delivery part, as you rightly said, it's E and OE. I mean, it's all errors and we're learning from errors. So initially is the learning process where we are hands-on, we learn through our own errors, the T and E part that he talked about. But then finally we need to come to a stage where while on the business models, T and E can go on, at least on the value delivery side in terms of the execution, we must have stability and, proper systems built around it. Otherwise, what can happen is that we should not keep on making errors on the execution side. We can keep on making errors on new businesses, that's fine.